According to WHO, the major illnesses today are those related to mind. The mental diseases like anxiety, depression. So today's talk by Dr. Venkat-V. will give us insight about the various causes and solutions for these mental cancers. So I would like to invite Dr. V. Chebrulu. Before that, just a brief introduction. I am very thankful to Dr. Chebrulu for being with us this evening. Dr. Venkat-V. Chebrulu is presently research scientist at GE Global Research Center in Bangalore. He received his PhD and MS degrees in biotechnology from University of Wisconsin and Wisconsin-Madison, and he had received his MTech in communications and signal processing and BTech in electrical engineering degrees from IIT Bombay. He is author of more than 20 publications, and his research interests include developing non-invasive quantitative magnetic resonance imaging, that is MRI, biomarkers for diagnosis, staging, adaptive treatment planning, and evaluating treatment response for various diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer.
Thank you, Shubham, for the introduction. And I guess there are more wise people than me here, so I'm not coming here to enlighten you with my wisdom, but I'll share something which I have learned in my way. Some little bit of editing. My PhD is not in biotech; it's in biomedical engineering. I thought I'll give some motivation on why we need to discuss about the cancers of the mind, but Shubham already stole some of my lines that I wanted to say, but let me begin like this. One of my friends went to Udupi recently. The street in which he was staying, there were 3 small puppies there, and they were with their mother, and in the street, yes, usual with the Indian roads, there was a small pothole, and these small puppies would go and take rest in that pothole. So one day they heard this she-dog crying bitterly, and they didn't know why it is crying. But when they went and found out, one of the puppies that was taking rest in the pothole, a car came, because nobody sees what's there in the pothole, and went over that puppy. So, of course, the puppy died. After a few days again, they heard this she-dog crying bitterly, and they went and saw the same incident. And you can imagine what happened next. The third puppy also died. When the third puppy died, you can imagine the bitterness in the heart of that she-dog. She was crying bitterly. Nobody could console her. So none of the problems that she was crying for is related to her body. It was not that she had some limb that was cut off. It was something related to the emotions. So not all problems that we face, not all anxieties, not all sufferings that we go through is just because of the troubles and disorders of the body. And even modern science is more and more realizing about the problems of the mind and the psychosomatic problems and all these kind of effects they are realizing. So I thought I'll talk a little bit on the motivation, but I'll be brief on that, and I'll talk a little bit on the causes for these cancers of the mind, and then some possible solutions. Just to get an idea of who all our audience are, how many of us are undergrads? Can you raise your hands? Okay. How many of us are postgrads here? Okay. And how many of us are faculty? Okay, quite good. Okay, good. So I don't have to enlighten you on whether cancer is a major health problem or not, but there are various different kinds of cancers, and more than 6 million people die of cancer. And in just US, there are 6 lakh people that die of cancer. And there is no established cure, so to say, but there are various treatment options available, like surgery, radiation therapy, and chemotherapy. Even in my PhD, one part of my work that I worked was on treatment for cancer, and they're more and more optimizing various methods for the treatments of the cancers of the body. But even though it's very well recognized, as Shubham was saying, that mental disorder is a major problem, according to statistics, more than 450 million people are suffering today because of mental disorders and behavioral disorders. Of these 450 people, a major section are suffering from anxiety and depression, 340 million people. And India today, I guess IITs, the time I studied, maybe I heard in my dual degree period of 5 years, maybe 1 or 2 suicides at IIT Bombay. But I guess we hear nowadays altogether in IITs at least a dozen suicides nowadays, or is it more? At least there are lots of suicides nowadays compared to the past. And in general, the statistics are the suicide rates have tripled in the last 25 years. And 20% of the children have severe stress disorders, and more than 1/3 of students agree with severe anxiety disorders. Of course, other than suicide, there is increase in drug addiction. I was interacting with one elderly gentleman in US. He was in his 60s. He was saying, we think that drug addiction is something very common in US. But he said when he was in his school days, he never heard of any girl who was not a virgin. He never heard of any family who underwent through divorce. But now in US, 70% of the marriages end in divorces. So we may be thinking India we have only 2% divorce rate, but this was the same state in US as well some decades ago, maybe 40-50 years ago. So there are common patterns that are happening, and societies are quickly changing. And even though in US most of the physical bodily problems, there are good treatments available, there are no established treatment solutions or cures for mental disorders. And anybody knows what is the biggest industry in US? No? No? Psychiatry is a good business, but the problem is, do you know who has the highest suicide rates? Which occupation has the highest suicide rates? It is the psychiatrist itself. So but 1/3 of the people do consult psychiatrists, but psychiatrist occupations as an occupation, they have the highest suicide rate. So they too don't have solutions. But anybody has a guess of what's the major industry?
Weapons. High weapons, high technology.
It's a prison industry. It's the prison industry. So prison industry is not happening just because of somebody having ill bodies. It's because people having uncontrolled minds. So we'll talk about various reasons of why these things are happening. And more people are realizing that just because somebody is healthy doesn't mean that he will not fight with somebody else. Just because he's healthy does not mean he will not kill somebody else. So happiness is not just a state of physical health. We have so many interactions in the society which involve emotions, which involve thoughts. So all these are affecting people, and we need to understand them better to have better healthy state as a whole. Many of you might have heard this quote. I don't know the source. They're saying that watch your thoughts for they become words, watch your words for they become actions, watch your actions for they become habits, watch your habits for they become your character, watch your character for it becomes your destiny. So we'll talk about more what is the mind, what is, when I talk about mind, what I do my mind. Mainly when I say the mind, it is the thinking, feeling and willing, talking about the thoughts, emotions of the people. And it is not that these thoughts don't have effects that manifest grossly. People are talking about psychosomatic illness, which is illness caused because of depression or wrong mental states. And then people are also talking about positive effects of the mind on the body. For example, when we do clinical trials, somebody was telling healthcare industry. So nowadays there is a lot of emphasis on trials before any drug is approved, and they go for clinical trials. And one of the things that they need to do to establish the drug's efficacy is they have to do an experiment where they randomly select people whom they give the drug they are giving, and some other group they will give just a pill which is maybe a sugar or something, and see is the effect placebo, or is it just because of I am taking this drug so I will get cured. Just that feeling or just the thought cures many people that I am taking something. And so the mind has the power, these thoughts and feelings have the power to cure the body as well. So they have to do this placebo test, that is the drug affecting beyond placebo test. So mind does have effect on the body, and this is very much studied in Eastern thoughts, and even in the modern science people are trying to understand the mind-body relationships, etc. But it's not so much mainstream. There is so much money that is invested into understanding anxiety and depression, just because of anxiety and depression, which cause, as Shubham was quoting, it is the major cause of disability. And in US they spend, if I'm correct, more than $40 billion because of accounting for taking care of people who are depressed. So the effects of depression have huge economical impacts as well. So they want to understand why this depression is happening, how to cure, what are various treatments available. So we'll talk about from the Eastern understanding, from Vedas, what these causes of the cancer are and why they come, and some possible solutions. So can anybody say why do people generally get angry or frustrated? Why do you get frustrated or angry, or why do you feel sometimes depressed?
You don't get what you want.
You don't get what you want. Right. So you have an expectation and it is not fulfilled, or you compare somebody else able to do that and you don't have it. For example, students may be seeing that somebody just goes to the class and he's able to grasp it, but even after reading a couple of times he's not able to get that concept. So he feels frustrated, he feels I am not up to that mark. Because of the comparison, there is a lot of stress. We tend to compare with others than ourselves. Do you know how runners, those who run marathons, etc., how do they practice? Anybody knows?
Visualize.
Visualize, correct. How do they improve their timings?
Compare with themselves.
Yeah, correct. So they don't run with others and compare, okay, am I running faster than the other guy? They time themselves and see, am I improving compared to myself than comparing to others. So, but we tend to compare with our peers. For example, what do you need your phone for?
Make a call.
What do you typically 90% of the time use your phone for? Communicating, talking to people, maybe messaging. What else? Gaming, okay. Surfing, okay. So, can we do things like gaming and surfing other than on the phone? Most of the times we are in front of the computer, correct? But even though most of us, I think, use smartphones or whatever, but most of the communication that we use the phone for is for speaking to people and maybe messaging. But we see one of our friends getting the new Samsung Galaxy Grand or whatever, and we feel pressurized that, oh, I have only a Nokia phone, it is not touch screen. I feel stupid before this guy, so let me get Grand soon, so that I also look grand. So, it's not mainly the utility, many times it's the comparison that drives our efforts. Another thing that causes anxiety is inability to do what we want to do, or inability to control the senses. For example, all of us have this experience that we put the alarm, we have some important thing to do, maybe we have an exam or something at 9 o'clock, then you put your alarm at 8 o'clock, then you say, okay, when the alarm rings, you say, okay, I'll just take a nap for 5 minutes. You snooze it, but you get up, you realize that it's 9:30, and you feel bad, you feel frustrated, oh, I should have done this. Or so you have an important submission or something in days coming up, and your friend says, okay, let's go for a party or a movie. So you don't want to go because you have a lot of work to do, but you also want to go because you want to enjoy as well. So this conflict creates stress, and you go because you are not able to enforce upon yourself that I'll control myself, because you lose that battle. You go enjoy, come back, and then you feel frustrated. So, and then when people are in depression, one of the things that happens is either they lose weight too much or they increase their weight too much. They just don't want to think and just keep eating, and their weight increases. So if somebody's weight is increasing, it's not just because they're feeling happy and healthy, it may be because they're depressed as well. So various things like that. So inability to control or inability to do what we want to do also causes anxiety. Then, of course, death, and more related to the student context, heartbreaks. So when at least I don't know if the statistics are there in India, but at least in US, if there is a triangle love and there is some battle happening between the parties, even police don't go, because generally US police are very, very strict, but even them, they don't go because these guys they don't stop at shooting at each other, they're ready to shoot. So when things like this happen, separation from the loved ones, people tend to lose control and do things which they later regret. I should not have done this in sane mind. Another thing, like there was one actress, Hollywood actress, maybe nowadays there are a lot of these Botox therapies, etc. to cover up your wrinkles. When Marilyn Monroe was there, anybody knows Marilyn Monroe? Okay. So at her time there was no Botox therapy like all these now Hollywood, Bollywood stars putting up. But she was very famous. But after some time she even stopped coming out into the public. Anybody guesses why?
Wrinkles.
Yeah, when she started seeing first wrinkles coming on her face, she couldn't face the fact that I will not look beautiful. The whole world is appreciating me because of my beauty. Now they won't appreciate me. So, but none of us can stop these bodily transformations. This is as fact as, like they say, as sure as death, correct? And this is as sure as old age. Nobody can stop it from happening. So various things which are beyond our control are happening. If we don't understand them well, then it will cause anxiety. Does anybody, so are people comfortable if I quote the Gita? Anybody knows what this Krishna talks about in the Gita regarding this bodily transformation? Anybody can say what that is? Anybody can quote the verse?
Vasamsi Jirnani.
Okay. That is about changing the dress, about transformation of the body, Krishna says. Any trials? Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatranam hyati. So that is the picture I have shown there. The person inside, that is we are not changing, but the body continuously changes and we don't have control over it. Anybody can say, I will not age, if they can raise their hands. Anybody? We don't think about it, but nobody can stop aging. So Krishna is saying that just as the body goes through boyhood, youth and old age, similarly the soul, that is the person, transmigrates into another body at death, and a sober person is not bewildered by such a change because he does not identify with the body. So we'll talk more about it. So before we discuss the solutions, I also wanted to touch upon a little bit on what the mind is. We said the mind is, when we say it's thinking, feeling and willing. To give an analogy, we can compare it to the computer we have. So we know that computer needs a software. I guess India is benefiting a lot from it, from the software industry. But if we consider the gross body, the cancers which we talk about in general are the cancers of the hardware. But there is an important element of our existence which is beyond just this hardware which we need to understand, and that is subtle in nature. It may not have these, like all these hardware kind of things, like a computer controller or whatever, but it is subtle. Another example, we can compare the senses, the eyes, nose, tongue, ears. These are like the gross body. The thoughts, feelings, future worries, etc., and all those experiences, perceptions, thinking, feeling, willing, we can consider the mind. The discrimination and determination is compared to the intelligence. So these are subtle and they are gross. So in the Gita, Krishna gives an example of how we can see the mind as. Does anybody know that example? Well, Krishna gives an analogy to describe the mind.
Charioteer.
Yeah, charioteer is who? Of course, Krishna was the charioteer, but he explains the body.
There are 5 horses which happen to be the senses.
Okay.
They are controlled by the reins or the thread, which happens to be the mind.
Okay.
And the charioteer happens to be the intelligence.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, the senses Krishna compares to the horses. So, what are the 5 karmendriyas? Anybody knows? 5 karmendriyas, jnanendriyas? Or what are the 5 senses? The eyes, ears, nose, tongue. So, genitals. So, the eyes, what do the eyes want to do? Eyes, what is the object of the eye sense? What is the sense object for the eye?
Light.
Correct, form. Somebody said the form. See, eyes want to see beautiful forms. So that is the object. So this eye, if you compare it to the horse runs towards food. Similarly, this eye wants to run towards beautiful form. So wherever there is a beautiful form, eye runs toward that. Then nose. What is the sense object for the nose?
Good smell.
Smell. So nose want to smell nice fragrances. So wherever there is nice fragrance, the nose pulls us towards that direction. Similarly, the tongue. I guess restaurant industry or the hotel industry is very flourishing because this horse is pulling people too much to that direction. Then genitals and ears. Ears is a sound, music. So people want to listen to good music. So that also, all these cinema songs or concerts, all those. So people want to hear. So this This is like the horse is pulling the body, so the senses are pulling us, and who controls them? They're connected through the mind to the intelligence. So based on our discrimination, determination, previous learnings that we have got, our previous upbringing, we have some conceptions of right and wrong. And everybody has their own paradigm of what is right and what is wrong, but still everybody has a discrimination and determination based on which their thoughts, feelings are controlled. Somebody maybe, let's say, is brought up in Middle East. For him, there is no feeling in killing a cow. So, because his discrimination does not, his upbringing does not tell him that cow killing is bad or something. So he does not have a feeling for that. But somebody brought up in India, maybe, for him, cow killing is abominable. If he sees this is happening, his heart is churned, he feels very bad. So feeling is the mind, but the decision is dependent on what he's trained in. So what his conceptions of what is right and what is wrong, what is discriminated power of what to do and what not to do. So the intelligence actually controls the thoughts, feelings and willing, and the mind, these thoughts, the feelings and willings control the senses. But if the discrimination is weak, then feelings overpower. So we were discussing the example of friends calling us for a party, and if our discrimination is weak, then the feelings overpower. If the hierarchy is right, if we have the right discrimination, right determination, then we can control our feelings, thoughts and emotions, and that can in turn control the senses. But if the senses are very strong or our discrimination is very weak, it happens the other way. The horses will pull the chariot in the other direction. So this example is given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And who is the passenger sitting?
So
That's the soul. Yeah. And Krishna says that for him who has controlled the mind is the best of friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Can somebody give examples of something being friend and enemy, something being good and bad simultaneously?
Laptops.
Okay, good. You can use it to do your project, or you can use it to... I wanted to say this, like we have a lot of technological progress, correct? For example, when I was in IIT Bombay, I used to have a relative in staff quarters, so I used to go to meet him sometimes. So in each staff quarters building, they used to have one of these dialing phones where you need to dial things. So if you want to dial 1, 2, 3, 4, you first dial 1, then go back. Did anybody see those phones? Okay, so that was difficult, correct? You have to dial for 1, 2. Then there is the touch ones where you just press. Then nowadays you just have to speak, okay, on your iPhone or whatever, sound recognizer. So technology has progressed, definitely. TVs, at least in my childhood, if you want to change a station, you have to you have to take that austerity of getting up from your bed and turning that knob. Now you can just change channels, or you can put it in whatever mode and it will take you through all the channels. Definitely technology has progressed. But do you know, the computers, computers. So earlier only big companies like IBM used to have computers, and it would take a couple of rooms or whatever, and now on your palm top or whatever you can do whatever you want to do. But do you know what is the biggest internet search on the computer? Huh? What is it used to search for? He's laughing, he knows. Yeah, sex pornography is the biggest thing searched for on the internet, and only when the 9/11 happened, when the Twin Towers were brought down, 9/11 superseded pornography in the internet search. That was a historic moment. Other than that, now things have resumed to normal. So, yeah, as I say, computer can be used for good things and bad things. Another thing is knife, correct? Knife in the hands of a surgeon can help remove the tumor or do surgery, but the same knife in the hand of a robber can kill. So our thoughts, feelings can be our friends if they are positively directed, and the same mind can be our enemy if it is not controlled. So Krishna is saying, and how to control the mind is also something which is elaborately discussed in the Gita. So all the problems that we are seeing in the world are not just problems of the physical gross body. There are many things that are there happening because of the mind. For example, divorce rate is 70% in the US. It's actually it's 80% in UK or Europe. But now the divorce rates in Europe are coming down. Can anybody guess why?
No, the marriage rates are going down.
Yeah, nobody is now marrying only. Anyway, it's going to get divorced. Why to marry? So, and people don't get divorced because they're happy, correct? There is a lot of emotional tussle, there is a lot of fight and unhappiness. So if thoughts, feelings are hurt, you can't just cure them by giving a pill to the body. So there is an example, one old lady used to have a parrot and she was taking very nice care, and every day she would nicely brush the cage. She would put the parrot in a golden cage, brush it nicely, clean it, do everything possible. But she was seeing the parrot is dying. Do you know why?
Freedom.
Yeah, so he was taking care of the cage but not of the parrot. So similarly, we can take care of so many things, effects in the body by maybe going for jogging, and when you feel angry, taking a deep breath or whatever. But unless thoughts, feelings are addressed at their level, you can't solve the problem at the level of the gross body. Just like by taking care of the cage, you can't take care of the parrot. Similarly, just by taking care of the body, gross body, we can't take care of the mind and feelings. So there is a separate thing that is needed. So before I propose some things, does anybody have any thoughts on how to control the mind? How to cure negative feelings, negative thoughts? Anybody want to share?
Meditation.
Meditation, okay.
Affirmation.
Huh?
Affirmations.
Affirmations. Can you explain?
They are like, we think positive about ourselves, like I'm progressing every day.
Okay.
I'm very effective.
Okay.
We keep on thinking that will bring a positive impact on the subconscious mind.
Okay. Good.
That just remove the negative thought.
Okay. Nice. Thanks. Any other things?
Thinking great about what we have.
Thinking great about what we have. Maybe gratitude is a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, it may appear as pride also.
I see it as in happiness of being alive. In the happiness of being alive.
Okay. Okay. Great. Anything else? You want to say something?
Regulating our lifestyle, have good habits.
Good habits. Okay. Nice. Anything else?
Change the thought. Replace the bad thoughts.
Replace the bad thoughts. Okay. Great. Great.
Accept the things.
Accept the things. Okay. Accept the reality around you. Okay. If you are getting low grades, then accept it. Okay. Then anything else?
Don't think, wait for the time.
Don't?
Wait for the time.
Don't wait for some great time to come. Okay. Act now. Okay. Anything else?
Stop unnecessary comparisons.
Stop unnecessary comparisons. Right?
Physical well-being.
Phys-
Physical well-being can affect mind.
Correct. Physical well-being can definitely affect the mind.
Physical
Taking care of the physique as well, definitely. Yes. Okay.
exercise.
Exercise. Yeah. Great. So yes, definitely all of these are very nice points, and I may share something similar as well. So as somebody was saying that if you put garbage in, what will come out is garbage. So if you want a healthy body, for example, if you don't want to get cancer or if you want to get diseased, you need to keep good hygiene, correct? Similarly, if you don't want your thoughts, feelings, etc. to be impacted, you also should not put negative things inside, like garbage in, garbage out. Just like we put emphasis on physical cleanliness so that we avoid diseases, similarly, mental hygiene is also important. Somebody was giving an example that let's say you are in the cleanest possible room, you have taken bath, you are fresh, you wore nice clothes, but you have taken the best possible computer, Apple, whatever, latest version, and the Leopard OS. But if you, on that, with all these clean things, you open the most popular search thing, then it's not that your mind will be stable, calm, peaceful, correct? So in addition to physical hygiene, mental hygiene is also important. So, okay. So negative thoughts, we should say, he was saying that don't encourage negative thoughts. If you have a glass of water, and if you want to you have only one glass, and if you have a glass of water, but you want a glass of milk, what should you do?
Empty first and then you fill.
Correct. So, or if you can't empty it, just at least start pouring the milk. If you can't completely empty it out in one moment, all the things that we have, at least if we start pouring the milk, eventually the milk will replace the water. So I was talking about this death and separation from the loved ones, correct? When separations happen, what people do? What people do? Huh? They find all mistakes in the other person, isn't it? Somebody was saying this, first Chandramukhi becomes then Jwalamukhi, like that. So the same person whom you were able to see all good characters, now you are not able to see anything. So we criticize or we see only bad, or if we are able to see good and bad, we only selectively choose the bad, or if there is a small bad thing, we tend to magnify it. And what is the effect of it? The effect is discouragement and disrespect. We tend to criticize people, those who get criticized, they get discouraged. So this is one of the negative things that we tend to do. Can anybody suggest what can be done to overcome this? I couldn't hear.
Talk about both good and bad.
Talk about both good and bad, okay. Anything else? Okay. Hopefully nobody is there to listen that statement to fight with you.
Criticized has to, you are asking about that or?
In general, I'm not just talking about the boyfriend, girlfriend breaking up. In general, what can we do to overcome criticism? The mentality to criticize, it's a negative, to criticize people is a negative thing. It's a negative feeling in the heart. So how can we overcome that?
Just ignore.
Ignore, okay.
To criticize oneself.
To criticize oneself, okay.
Appreciating each other.
Huh?
Appreciating each other.
Appreciate, okay. I guess many of you can come here and talk. So mainly we will talk about these. So negative, the main cancers that we can talk about are comparing, complaining, and criticizing. And I'll just briefly talk about these. Before I tell this, the club is Dhruva Club, correct? Can anybody tell me what the full form of Dhruva is? Dhruva? Anybody from Dhruva Club here? Any members of Dhruva Club? Huh? No full form. Okay, does anybody know who Dhruva is?
He became a star.
Yeah, definitely. He became a star. Yeah. So, Dhruva, when he was a small boy, he was the son of elder wife of King Uttanapada. King Uttanapada had two queens, Suniti and Suruchi. Suniti was, as the name suggests, of good character, and Suruchi, as the name says, she was more beautiful. So king was more attached to Suruchi than Suniti. Even though Dhruva was the son of the elder queen, the son of the second queen would get more attention. So when Dhruva went to his father, Uttanapada, second son was sitting in the lap. And Dhruva also wanted to, when child goes near the father, he wants to sit in the lap of the father. So he was trying to climb or go near the father's lap. Then the second queen, Suruchi, stopped him and said that you are not qualified to sit on the throne. If you want to sit, you must die and take birth from my womb to be able to sit on your father. So Kshatriya prince, so he was comparing, saying that my brother is getting this, but I am not getting it. So he was burning with rage, and he went to his mother Suniti for solution. We will talk about what the solution he got at the end, but he was comparing that he is not getting what other person got, and he was overwhelmed with anger and frustration. So you desire to have more and more, because of comparison, you desire to have more and more. And can anybody suggest what the solution would be for greed or desiring to have more and more? Or comparing, other person has it, I don't have Samsung Galaxy, or I don't have iPhone.
Appreciate what you have.
Okay, appreciate what you have. Good. Contentment, yeah, good. Sometimes people satisfy contentment or criticize contentment and satisfaction. So when we say satisfaction or contentment, it is not being not ambitious. It's not that they're saying that you should not be ambitious. There is difference between greed and having ambition, correct? Let me give an example. So a king announced that on his birthday he said, whoever, I'll give you as much land from the morning, as much as you can walk, you walk and report me till where you have walked, I will give you that much land to you. So there is a difference in greed and ambition. Can anybody tell what a greedy person would do and what a ambitious person would do?
Greedy person will run.
Okay. Ambitious person will sit or walk.
Ambitious person will not want the land. Like, he won't ask for the land.
Okay. He'll ask for the kingdom?
He just want to set record.
Huh?
He just wants to set record that I walked this much of distance, but I don't want your land. Not for your land, but for my satisfaction.
Okay.
Greedy person will not.
Till evening, the ambitious one will return by afternoon. So
yeah. So the king's request was that you must report. Now, if somebody is greedy to have more and more, he will reach till after, he has to come back till the time wherever he has walked, he has to come back also. The more he is walking, the less energy he has. So if he keeps walking and trying to get more and more, when will he return back? But by the time you reach afternoon or whatever time, midway, the ambitious person has intelligence. So he has also got satisfaction. This is as much as I can go. If one person knows his limitations, knows his capabilities, and uses his intelligence to aim for what he can. So it's not that one should not have ambitions, but one needs to have intelligence to understand what his strengths are, what his capabilities are, what his limitations are. If he can walk or run, he should know how much he can run so that he can come back also. So there is a difference between greed and ambition. There is no problem in having ambition, but it should have, unless one is satisfied, unless one has that virtue of satisfaction that this is, I need to be satisfied this with whatever I have got, beyond this that I don't have the capability to achieve, then greed will cause problems. I'll put out solutions as well, but I want you guys to talk about it. So why do we complain or criticize?
Self-defense.
Self-defense. Okay. Any other things? Okay. Yeah. I'm not saying that comparison, complaining, and criticism don't have that positive use. We are talking about more on the negative aspect today. But yes, definitely we can use them properly as well. But in the negative sense, why do people complain and criticize?
Unfulfillment of expectations.
Okay. Okay. So generally, there is said all of us will have somebody equal, somebody superior, somebody inferior. People tend to become envious of somebody who is superior. People tend to criticize somebody inferior or deride somebody inferior. Oh, you don't have this, you don't have that. And when somebody equal comes, people tend to boast about their achievements. They become proud. Okay, I have done this. Have you done this also? I have so many publications. Do you have these publications or whatever? So when we meet equals, we boast or become proud of our achievements. When we see superiors, we feel envious. And when we see juniors, we tend to find their faults. So if some student is there who doesn't have as much grades as we have, we tend to criticize or whatever. We tend to deride them. So the solution that is suggested, this is also from Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj gives this solution, that if you see somebody superior, feel happy and appreciate that person for having, for example, some students gets a good grade or better marks than us, so students generally say, ये तो मग के मार्क लिया है, इसको समझ में नहीं आता है. But there is an element of positivity also. He has put effort to get things. So either we can criticize, he has, not that I'm suggesting you mug and get marks, we need to understand things. But we tend to say, okay, he has mugged it up, or we only see the negative part and we become envious and we then criticize. Rather than we can also appreciate that he has put some effort in getting what he wants. And definitely we are not recommending mugging things, but I'm just saying there is positivity in that as well. And when we see somebody inferior, instead of deriding him, we can show compassion. If we can help, that's an advice given. And when we see equals, making friendships, and that's the suggestion that is given. Appreciating what the friend has also, instead of boasting what we have. But I would like to hear, there are more wiser people than me, so any faculty or students also, it's not the age that determines the wisdom, but if anybody has some things to share, they can share what we can do to be overcoming these things. Anybody has any more thoughts? Okay. So I last two slides, I will just put one quote which I felt nice. Before you speak, listen. Before you write, think. Before you spend, earn. Before you invest, investigate. Before you criticize, wait. Before you pray, forgive. Before you quit, try. Before you retire, save. Before you die, give. And I will end with this slide of how to, these apply for both positivity and negativity. And if you want to not put garbage in, garbage out, then we have to put some positive things. And anything positive or negative comes those three ways. I have association books, chant and diet. Of course, there is a saying, tell me your friends, I'll tell about you. If you are among people who tend to gossip and criticize, because people want to be one in the group, they don't want to be alienized. So we need to choose the company. And then, of course, I was telling about the feelings being affected by the intelligence, correct? By our judgment of what is right and wrong, our discrimination and determination, and that is developed by proper understanding of strengthening of discrimination, and that comes through books. And Bhagavad Gita is one book which we can definitely read. And the third thing which I put chant is in the context of Dhruva. So anybody knows how Dhruva overcome his negative feelings and his comparative mode?
He meets Narad.
He meets Narad, yes?
Gets the Vasudeva.
Correct, perfect, yeah. So his mother Suniti, she says that don't hold grudges for people who have done injustice to you. The example is given that if somebody has done something wrong to you and if you want to take revenge, that feeling of trying to take revenge is like holding a burning hot coal. So who is suffering? Is the person who is holding that burning hot coal that is suffering, and you want to vent out, but until you vent out you are suffering. He has said this, the next time I get an opportunity I will say this to him. So we are holding that feeling that I want to criticize, and it is not the other person who is suffering. Until we get the opportunity we are suffering. So Suniti said, don't hold grudges for the person who have done injustice to you. If you want to, Dhruva was comparing that my brother is getting my father's kingdom, I am not getting. So I want a kingdom bigger than my great-grandfather. His great-grandfather was Brahma. So he said, then Suniti said, you go and approach Vishnu, and I have learned that sages go to forest for finding Vishnu. So Dhruva goes to the forest, and Narada Muni meets him there and tells him as, may I know your name?
Vardhan.
Vardhan, okay, so I now recognize you. I met him sometime before also. So, and he gives the mantra, so that chanting, and by chanting Vasudeva mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Dhruva was able to overcome. And diet, of course, people say that you are what you eat. If your daily diet is dependent on somebody else being torturously killed, that itself it implies that you are promoting cruelty. So what we eat determines what we are also. So diet is also something which determines how positive we are. So with that I would like to end, and if anybody has any questions or comments, most welcome.
Chant, again I am confused. On the other three,
Okay.
the chant you because it is a legitimate right to Dhruva, but how we have overcome that?
Okay. Okay, yeah. So when he chanted for Vishnu, and when Lord Vishnu came before him, he said, now I have found you, God. I was looking for broken jewels, broken glasses. Now I have got the diamond, so I don't need those broken glasses. So he's saying, I am more satisfied with having you than having those broken piece of glass which is compared to the kingdom. So he was satisfied with what he has got. So he was able to overcome that. But Lord Vishnu gave him the kingdom as well. Any other comments or questions?
How do we deal with such people who are around us? Because even if we are going to improve following all these things,
Okay.
we encounter day-to-day problems such way. So what do we do at that time? How do we handle it?
Very nice question. Actually, I wanted to make a point, but I forgot. Your question helped me talk about it. So it said that our mind is like an antenna, and a lot of people who experience depression is because of the environment they are in. How people are thinking about them, what people are doing to them, all these things affect. Even people, somebody thinking bad about you, you feel that, oh, that person doesn't feel good about me, that also tortures you. So the environment we are in is also affecting us, and mind is compared to be like an antenna. So for example, we use TV, correct? And there are more than 200 channels, but we tune into only one channel, correct? Which we want to see. So there are negative vibrations all around us, and we can choose to tune into what we want. Just like with the TV, even though everything is around you, but you can choose to tune to what you want to. So that needs to be cultivated. That strength of only tuning to what you want, only tuning to the positivity needs to be cultivated. That's not easier said than done, and there are various ways of doing it. And then if you read the Gita, you will find many ways of doing it.
What method you prescribe for this?
Okay, so I am not a big person to give treatments, but I will say something which is there in the Gita. So before that, I'll just tell something. In Madison, we used to have this student organization, Vedic Science of Yoga, and I was going in a taxi to go somewhere, and the cab drivers tried to pick a conversation, correct? They just to spend time, they were asking. So he was asking, what do you do? How do you spend your time, free time, etc., and all those things. So in the conversation, I mentioned that we have this club, Vedic Science of Yoga. So he was saying, what is yoga and all. So I said, yoga means harmonizing the body, mind, and spirit, and all these things. So he said, I like the last part, harmonizing with spirit. So I didn't understand what he meant. He said the spirit. Did you get it? Alcohol is also called spirit. So, but the process given in the Gita is the yoga. Yoga. The word yoke. You know what does yoke mean? Yoke. Connect. So yoga means, it comes from the Sanskrit word yunja, means to connect. So Krishna talks about various different yogas, karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and bhakti yoga. This yoga is a process to connect with absolute truth. And that's like what Dhruva did, the chanting is a process of bhakti yoga. So to connect with the absolute truth, that is called yoga. So yoga is the process that is recommended in the Gita to be able to overcome, to get the strength. I was talking about all around us we have negative vibrations. We can't control what others think about us, we can't control what others say to us. So we can only tune into what we want to. So the ability to tune to what we want to, the ability to tune to positive things comes from practice, and that comes from yoga, that comes from connecting with something sublime. So that is the process recommended. That does answer your question? Yoga, the process is yoga, the recommendation is yoga. And Bhagavad Gita talks about karma yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga, like that. Because you are in Dhruva Club, I would recommend bhakti yoga because that's what Dhruva did. Any other comments or questions?
Sir, how to overcome criticism by your loved ones, like friends,
okay,
or mother,
Okay. Okay. So I was mentioning, no? So criticism is not always bad, correct? Criticism could be constructive as well when it is intended to bring a positive change. So criticism is not always negative. Sometimes a mother or parent can say things to bring about a positive effect. If the intention is not bad, then that should be taken in a positive spirit.
But what if you may be having some of your friends, like maybe not the true friend, who criticize out of jealousy?
Okay. Okay. So, one of the things of knowledge that Krishna says in the Gita is amana. Means amanitvam is one of the symptoms of knowledge. That means one should not expect respect from others. If you expect respect from others, you will be in distress. You are in anxiety when somebody is criticizing because you want them to think good about you. But you can't control what they think. So first, there are 24 symptoms of knowledge Krishna explains in the Gita. The first one is amanitvam, that if you should not expect respect from others. If you are expecting, then you can't be happy. That is the first thing one should do. That one should not expect respect from others. One should do what is right thing to do, and one should tune to positive things. Is it okay?
Yes. We have talked about the depression, anxiety, and about the mind. Mind, I think there are two factors. One is attained by the birth, other is by the environment.
Okay.
So, it is a lot of both have got its own.
Correct.
By birth he cannot change.
It's not necessarily true. It is not that birth, whatever we get by birth cannot be changed. I'll give you an example of a person who changed.
Temper and anger.
Correct.
Anger, I find different levels in different people.
Correct.
And, maybe with chanting to some extent sometimes, but again they get into some other environment. So,
correct.
Really, it's always the thoughts of, always keep thinking about this.
Okay.
Whether the person can be changed.
At least from my understanding, even things that come from birth also can change. There are examples of very cruel hunters changing. We have the example of Brigari and all those people changing. So it's possible to change. It takes practice. Yeah.
One more question. In a particular environment, if a person has developed a particular behavior, can the person change in the same environment? It is very challenging.
So we cannot change the environment, but we can choose to respond according to how we want to respond. We can't change the environment.
In the same environment, we can change. These are question answers. Bad environment.
Correct.
We were also behaving
Correct.
Suddenly we can change.
So it takes practice. Sudden thing is not possible. It definitely takes. I was saying that's why good company is required.
Yeah, because run away from the environment.
Correct. It definitely takes some practice.
But it is possible.
It's possible. It's possible, at least from what I understand. Things even from birth, what we get from birth also, it's possible to change. It's possible. Are there any comments? If there are no more comments.
So all these suggestions, I think most of it we know that this is what we should do and not.
Correct.
But how do we make sure that we put it into practice? Like yoga helps us to make sure that, okay, I know this, I have to use it now. Like this person is criticizing me or this person is saying this and I should be reacting this way. How would we make sure?
So, yeah, Krishna talks about two things, Jnana and Vijnana. Jnana is the knowledge, Vijnana is realized knowledge. So, Jnana is theoretical knowledge, Vijnana is realized knowledge. You know what to do and what not to do, but to be able to do is Vijnana. So, that is possible by attaining. So, for example, if a weak person wants to lift something very heavy, he can't lift it automatically, correct? He needs to develop that strength. So yoga is the process. To be able to do these things is like heavy weight lifting. as we are now, we may not be able to do, but if we build that muscle by practice, we will be able to eventually do it. And to be able to do, to come to the platform of Vijnana is the process that is yoga process that's given in the Gita. So yeah, you answered the question. I am affirming what you have said. Yes, the yoga process gives us the ability to do it.
How do you control the thoughts? Again, yoga?
So, correct. So, body is described in hierarchically. Thoughts are controlled by the intelligence, our discrimination and determination. So, by reading, I was giving the philosophical books or Bhagavad Gita, understanding of, strengthening our understanding of what needs to be done, what should not be done, or developing our discriminative capabilities, determination, all these, when they are stronger, our thoughts and feelings can be controlled. So philosophy, books, these strengthen our intellect. Yeah, thoughts are inferior to the intelligence. So if we strengthen the intelligence, we can control the thoughts. If there are no more questions, I think we can conclude.